get you some analysis now on what this means, and we're joined by security expert Eldred de Klerk and legal analyst Melusi Xulu, to both my guests. Good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. Can I start with you, Eldred de Klerk? We usually wait for final reports and recommendations from commissions of inquiry before any steps are taken against implicated persons. Is this an unprecedented step from President Cyril Ramaphosa?
Good evening, Colin. Good evening to my fellow panelists. The word of the day, Chloe, is indeed unprecedented. In the earlier crossing with Sianda and Jeremy, they used exactly that word to describe the speed by which this is done. The fact that it's a mid-process intervention by the president, who has taken the interim report, seemingly read it, accepted the recommendations, passed it on to institutions, who is now tasked to get on and do something about these recommendations, including further investigating on the basis of what has already been said, prima facie evidence. That means there's sufficient evidence to believe that these people have a case to answer, and to proceed expeditiously, big word, but essentially get on with the task to make sure that that justice is done, and justice is seen to be done, and it's seen to be done speedily.
Legal hurdles, Melusi Xulu, do you foresee any of that? Again, we stress the point that this is the president acting on an interim report of an ongoing commission of inquiry.
Good afternoon to you, Chloe, and to my fellow panelists and to the viewers at home. I don't foresee any legal hurdles at the moment, because remember, the terms of reference do say that you can have the commission to give referrals for criminal investigations or prosecutions and so forth. So it's important that at least some work is done whilst the hearing is continuing. So I don't see any hurdles, except to say, obviously, like in any criminal matter, you are deemed to be innocent until proven guilty. But there is a prima facie case for, we've seen it live, that there are some wrongdoing that has been done. The only question, though, that I would like to ask, that everyone might be asking, is what about certain individuals that we might think they also have a case to answer? So that's the only question. But so far, I think it's good that some work is being done.
You're prompting a question that's going to come a little later in the conversation, Mr. Xulu. Let's go back to Eldred for the moment. We are going to talk about the trust deficit, the erosion of public trust, Eldred, in a moment. But part of the reasoning here by the president is that this is going to help bolster the investigative capacity of the commission. What does that tell us by way of evidence that may possibly be presented to this commission and will probably be done on the sidelines while the commission is ongoing? Do you think that we're actually going to see a commission of inquiry that finally has teeth? So you have evidence that's being presented, people being called to testify, whilst on the other hand, in the background, information is being collected live.
Absolutely. And this is a concern that we have expressed and been concerned about since the start of the commission. We also knew that the commission's timeline is tight. We knew that there's lots of information that's going to come the way of the commission, and they're going to have to work through that information to find where the evidence are and start compiling a body of work that suggest whether there's in fact rot in the criminal justice system, whether it has been captured, whether there's been political interference, and whether in fact ultimately we can trust these institutions or not. So this concern that the commission's work is not just seen, or is not that which only happens, by us, which we see, but there's the background work. So if this is in fact an intervention by the president to use your word, colleague, to say, bolster that capability and capacity that we've been concerned about and expressing a need for, then we want to say, where is he going to draw this capacity from? Are we then suggesting that the commission or the STARS team under the stewardship of the National Commissioner and the acting Minister of Police will find capabilities and capacities not only within the police and the justice system, but maybe in the SSA, maybe in the forfeiture unit, the forensic investigation or the financial investigation unit, that there are other people in the specialized courts and specialized prosecutors, that this team will now be drawn from available, credible capabilities, trusted individuals who will work collectively and together under the stewardship of the co-chairs, which is the National Commissioner and the acting minister, to ensure that a credible and speedy investigation is conducted.
Yeah.
As has already been said, everybody's innocent until proven guilty, so we need to ensure that the investigation is handled by people who know what they're doing, can be trusted, and ultimately will only look to prosecute or get somebody to answer a case based on credible, untainted evidence. If we can be assured that that is happening, then this intervention is a critical one. Where they're going to draw this capability from, that is yet to be seen.
Yeah, and you bring up the next point that I'm going to pose now to Melusi Xulu, because clearly this task team, Melusi Xulu, is going to have to be composed of people that have the right skills in order to collect this forensic investigation or forensic evidence that they will then presumably present to law enforcement for those people then on the other end to quickly speed up the prosecutions. What kind of skills do you foresee being put together here? I'm talking about the composition of the task team itself.
Polly, what I find interesting, firstly, before we come to the skills, is the fact that hopefully you'll get police officials or any other related officials who will be investigating who are not tainted, because currently, we're dealing with the fact that the police officials and some prosecutors, to a certain extent, although it hasn't been proven yet, they might be involved in criminal acts that need to be investigated. So firstly, the task team has to be untainted and professional and so forth. But we're looking for skills that will obviously be specialized, as my colleague and panelist has stated, special prosecutors and people who have experience of investigating. Because there's a Latin term, though I'll say it in English, which asks who will guard the guardians. So we need people who will ensure that they don't have any attachment to the people who are being investigated, so that thorough investigation can be done, and fair investigations as well.
Yeah, Eldred, let's come to you then and discuss the erosion of public confidence. I think it is the phrase that was used by Vincent Magwenya there. The concern from the president is that this is South Africa's criminal justice system. He's worried about it being tainted and not being trusted. How much of that is now going to be regained with the president taking this unprecedented step?
Well, that may be the intention indeed, because there is indeed a trust deficit, both in the institutions and its leadership. What we now need to see is that, and as the public, we also need to be sure, and our legal colleague has already mentioned this, the investigation has to be done thoroughly, diligently, and by the book, so to speak, so that the case that is put in front of a judge is in fact a case that is not only winnable, but in fact is based on credible evidence. So that might, even though this step is unprecedented, we're not going to rush to prosecution. It's an important step. The capability has to be gathered, and then we need to make sure that that investigation is done legally and by the book, so to speak. So there will be a delay. So in fact, we, the general public, because it's not just a trust deficit, Polly, it's also this idea that there's a general weariness. There's a sense of resignation. And we can easily say it now with this task team, you know what? Yet another task team. We've already said this is an unprecedented task team. It comes mid-process. We've already said that this task team is tasked and has evidence and has enough evidence to say, investigate this individual and prepare a case docket for court. So that in itself is significant in that it's already a little way down the road towards action and justice being seen to be done. We, the general public, given our weariness, given our sense of resignation, if we can just trust the process and ensure that we stay with it and look towards these public representatives, including the president, and our public service, then to do the right next step. And that is to do their jobs to the best of their capability so that justice is in fact seen to be done. Because there's a sense of betrayal on behalf of the citizens that these public officials have failed us and they've betrayed both their oath of office and their promise to us in terms of public safety and keeping us safe and fulfilling the national interest of the country, and by doing so have threatened the national security and national interests of the country. So this weariness, sense of resignation, and sense of betrayal, we need to stick with it, be active and be resolute, make our voices heard, yet at the same time we now need to hand over to this task team and trust that the people in the task team do their job, and they need to know that they hold our further trust in their hands. So we're putting an additional burden on them to ensure that they do the best job that they can. And we trust that we have that individual, Kole.
Yeah. Melusi Xulu, you possibly have the final word here, and we are going to pose the very question you tried to prompt at the beginning. There are certain people that the public would have expected to be listed because there's a list of names in that statement from the presidency where people are said to either be looked into in terms of suspensions from their current roles or referred for prosecution. There are names such as the minister that's on special leave, Senzo Mchunu. There's a name that's just been discussed in Parliament as I came to you now, that of Shedrack Sibiya. Talk to us about what you think the reasons could have been for those names being excluded in this list.
I'll first start with the first name of the Minister Madlanga. I believe the spokesperson did say that it's a separate process, it's political and so forth. But I believe it's just a criminal investigation, and if there is an issue with regards to any criminal acts they think he might have done, they might have put him on the list. So maybe it could be that the panel or the commission did not see any wrongdoing for now, but remember, he's still going to come back and he's still going to have to answer certain issues that he might have to answer. So maybe for that, we have to wait. With regards to the deputy commissioner, I don't get a sense why he's not put on the list. But like I said in the beginning, everyone is deemed innocent until proven guilty. Maybe let's wait for the final report. If in the final report, maybe he's not there, despite what others might think there is a prima facie case, maybe we'll get clarity then. But let's maybe avoid trying to demand people to be put on the list if they are not there yet. But when the final report is done, maybe we'll ask hard questions, John.
Yeah. Eldred, very quickly, I'm out of time, but I have to put this one to you. The Commissioner of the Police, Fannie Masemola, is co-chair, as you beautifully labeled him at the beginning of this conversation. He co-chairs this with the acting Minister of Police. Some people view him as a possible player here, and therefore there might be issues there. Could this task team suffer any credibility issues just by virtue of Masemola being at the top of this task team?
That's a good question. Not if we understand his role. His role as the accounting officer to ensure that this task team has the necessary resources and workspace and freedom to do what they need to do. He is not routinely involved in investigations on a daily basis, nor identifying the targets of those investigations. What he needs to do is ensure that he undertakes the task given to him by the president to make sure that this task team is formed, resourced, and supported, and that the task team themselves need to enjoy sufficient freedom to then do their work without interference from him or his office, and be able to provide us with the fruits of their labors after the fact. He's simply the one who has to account for the budget, the space, and the pace of this of the task team and this investigation. He's not the one tasked with investigating the accused.
Thank you very much indeed for your analysis and inputs here tonight. Eldred de Klerk, a security expert, alongside Melusi Xulu, a legal expert. Thanks indeed for both your contributions.